Welcome back to Judgment and Decision Making. I'm Dr. Padilla. Now we're going to talk about norms. The goal with norms is that we're trying to assess normality. We want to know what is normal. How can we tell that something is different from normal? And this is one of the main things that we do throughout our lives, even if we don't know it, is we are going through our lives trying to determine if what we are experiencing is normal and safe, or is it different and we should be nervous about it because there's uncertainty. It may be good or it could also be bad. Now, this plays into active surprise. There might be things that we see that are very surprising to us. We might be watching a movie and we might see something jump out at us and scare us. And when that happens, we are anticipating the surprise. So it's actually a fun experience. It's not a bad feeling at all. On the other hand, there is a passive surprise. This is when we are not expecting a surprise and we're kind of confronted with something different than the normal. For example, an old friend might contact you, your professor gets a face tattoo, you find $10 on the sidewalk, you get a flat tire. Some of those are positive. You're getting money that you didn't expect, but it is different. And you're cued on to that difference. And it is kind of attracting your attention to the change in normality. A single incident may make a recurring event less surprising. So if you get a flat tire, every single time you ride your bike, it's no longer going to be surprising to you. It's going to be the new normal. And we habituate to events in this way, where the first time something unexpected happens, it's surprising to us. And the next time it's a little less surprising. And the next time it's less surprising. That's what's called habituation. We get used to this event happening. And the problem with that is that it can kind of creep. Maybe there's something that we would have been shocked about a year ago, like doing all of your classes online or just everything that's going on in the pandemic now. If we had been told 2 years ago how we would be living our lives today, that would be shocking and alarming. But we've gotten used to it. We've habituated to it. So it's less surprising and more expected. And this also happens with negative events. So you can think about negative events that you've seen in your life, and the first time that you experienced that, maybe you saw a newscast of event that made you feel really horrible. The next time you're going to see that, you're still going to feel bad, but slightly less. And that's what's scary. So each time you see a report of something bad happening that makes you feel bad, that is in the same category, you're going to feel less bad and less bad and less bad until you're no longer outraged about it. And that's where the problem is. So our normality is not constant. What we consider normal is always changing and updating with the information that we receive from the world. And part of the reason why we are constantly evaluating normality and updating normality is because we see causes. We're trying to make sense of the world constantly. We receive information that can be disparate and confusing, and we have to make sense of that. So we're trying to find causes of things in the world so we can understand their implications to us. For example, Fred's parent arrived late. The caterers were expected soon. Fred was angry. So why is Fred angry? There's really no evidence for the link between Fred's feeling and his parents. But we make a coherent story where Fred is sort of angry because of his parents, because we created this link between these two disparate forms of information. Maybe a more compelling example is with this animation. This is one of my favorites. So this is really classic work that was done to show how we try to make sense of disparate information. What you're seeing here is a very simple animation where you have two triangles and a circle. I want you to think about the story that you're creating in your mind as you see these circles and triangles interact. All right. What is interesting there is, I don't know about you, but I created a very clear narrative about this, mean circle picking on these two triangles. And there was, a whole narrative arc of their relationship together. But it was truly circles and triangles. We made up the meaning in our mind because of the information seemed to make sense. And I just want to be clear that this information doesn't have inherent meaning with it. It's just, black and white pixels. The meaning that we make is in our mind. There's nothing in the image itself or the video that is necessarily conveying truth or fact. It is in our head. Okay, I'm going to show you one more fun example.
This dot is moving in an elliptical path. If additional dots, moving in horizontal paths, but synchronized with the original dot, are introduced, the original dot participates in the common motion and is now perceived as being within the group. The elliptical motion is perceptually split into a horizontal motion common to the whole group and a vertical motion performed within the group. The same perceptual analysis can be applied here. The lamp rotates around the center of the wheel, and simultaneously it moves across the field of view. When the surround is darkened, the lamp is no longer seen as rotating. When a center light is added, a group is formed, and the impression of rotation is once again restored.
All right, this video goes on. The importance here is that the information that we get, we make meaning from it, but we are making meaning based on the context. We were shown an example where it seemed like the dot was kind of bouncing around like this. And as soon as they changed the context by just adding another light, we were made aware that the light was going in a circular motion. But we would have no idea that was the case if we were only presented with the first information. So that's to say that the way that information is presented to us has a profound influence on the decisions that we make with that information. So people can manipulate or change that information to lead you to the conclusions that they want you to make. Okay, and the real reason why we are doing this, we've evolved such a complex system to try to make sense of the world, is for this example here. So in this example, why is our mind making seeing causes? Well, do you see any threats in this particular image? No, but you would see it if we added color. You could see the panther right here. In this first case, we're not provided with enough information to make sense and find the relevant, important information for our health and safety. And as soon as the context changes a little bit, we can identify that information. So that's really what we're trying to do. That's why we've evolved this process. We want to find violations in the world, to find when something new is there that threatens us in some way. And so that's kind of gotten a little out of control, where we try to make sense out of everything. it's not necessarily bad, but we're just always applying the sense making ability that we've evolved to all types of information, and we jump to conclusions based on that our propensity to make narrative stories about the information that we see. All right, the key concept here are that humans are skilled at sense making. We derive meaning from very disparate information, and we are trying to determine normality and violations of normality.